Okay, so welcome to this next video for COMP3218, Game Design and Development at the University of Southampton. My name is Dave Millard, I'm one of the lecturers on the course, and I am here with...
I'm Tom Blatt, I'm another lecturer on the course.
I'm Callum, I'm one of the demonstrators on the module.
And I'm Johan Malinov, one of the other demonstrators who took the course last year.
Brilliant. Okay, so we've got 3 games to have a look at in this video. Tom, do you want to say a little bit about what we asked the students to do?
So for this coursework, we asked the students to create a small game prototype that had an interesting core dynamic and had a way of tutorializing that to the player.
Brilliant. Okay, so let's have a look at our first game, which is Space Aegis.
Okay.
First of all.
Okay, I like that.
Very nice title screen.
Yeah, that's quite nice actually. Yeah, that's good. Slight conflict between the planet texture and the kind of space texture, but we'll let him off. Font's lovely.
And the music.
Yeah, very good.
Oh, so is this a planet or a sun?
Let's hope it's not the sun or the planet's in trouble.
Okay. Oh.
Okay.
Level select as well.
Always good.
Okay.
I'm not sure what's going on.
Okay. Yeah.
Cutscene.
Cutscene.
I remember this game now. That's actually really nice.
That's very nice.
It is kind of interesting that it focuses on the rock first rather than the...
Yes.
But...
Okay, so you have a planetary shield.
It's slower than the mouse.
Okay, so we've got a streak in the bottom left.
Okay. That's cute.
Yeah, nice.
You can have a pause, which is good.
Can you access the pause without using the mouse though? I don't...
That seems a bit of a disaster.
Oh, you can, there we go. It's escape, not B. Which I probably should have tried first.
Okay. Got big streaks, good.
I'm annoyed that I think that we've taken damage though from that first asteroid. Oh no! Oh no! I've been tricked.
That's nice. So they come in and they come in at different speeds.
This feels quite long for a very first tutorial level.
There are 4 or 5 of these.
Okay, so there are 5 tutorial levels. I'm curious what else they're going to
Level
do.
between. That's good. That's good. Okay, so they introduce us to some basics.
What is the axis of rotation on this planet? It looks like it's rotating around here.
Stop it.
I'm sorry.
Is that
okay.
It's a different planet we're defending now.
Or in a different place.
I like the fact it's illuminated in the same
Oh,
as the star.
What's happening here?
Whoa.
Oh.
Now that's interesting. So they make you
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no!
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got slow moving things, fast moving things.
Very fast.
Oh, there's a lot of these.
No. Oh my goodness.
Ooh.
No, please.
Oh, that's nice.
I mean, that's a very unlucky planet.
It really is.
I feel like I'm being tormented by some kind of capricious god.
That's nice.
Okay.
So I really like that. I like the fact they grow. No. I like the fact they go red when they're about to come in income.
Wait, hold.
What's that?
I've got a tractor beam.
You can heal yourself.
Okay, I'm not sure why the heal was red though.
Oh, is that like...
it's faster now.
I like the fact it warns you again effectively by...
So it does the same thing, but...
I did that badly.
That was the wrong way around.
Oh, you complete the level.
Ooh.
Get a max streak.
Could you play that level again?
Sure.
I want to see if there's actually enough stuff that you can lose it.
That was
3.
So try and avoid all the things.
okay.
So you'll have to pick up the health to continue the tutorial, I guess.
Yeah.
Again, like the health is red, which is a bit weird.
Yeah, that is a bit strange.
Red cross.
Oh, yeah.
I guess, but to me that looks more like the symbol for an electricity thing.
It heals you completely?
Yeah, it looks so.
I'm just curious if they've designed it so that in the tutorial level you can die or not.
Yeah. It doesn't matter if you don't die, I suppose.
Oh no, I'm just curious what the design choice was.
You cannot die.
Yeah.
Level complete.
Which feels like it was probably a deliberate choice.
Yeah.
Which I think is
so.
Chapter 4, here we go. So, presumably many elements.
Ooh, we've got a little laser.
Thing.
Ooh, you can reflect things.
Bouncy. Can I can slightly change the angle of reflection.
It goes off into the direction.
This is the thing. That's they're coming straight at the planet, and this is an
and
arc.
then it shows you. That's nice.
Oh, that's really good.
So you know you can.
So I was kind of worried when I first saw this that it would be, far too simple a game. It's just
now it's gonna.
I never really thought about it.
But they've actually put enough different mechanics in.
They've
tutorialised it's really good.
They've thought about it really nicely, and they've got that thing where the mechanics interact with one another.
I want to try that again because I shouldn't because that's just going to be me complaining about maths.
Level 1. So, I wonder on these levels, is there a fixed number of things, or do you have to? So if you'd reflected that properly.
There's a health pickup. It's okay.
Oh.
Give me.
So that's an interesting sort of risk-reward thing as well. Of just
you
can't move while you're, or you don't want to move while you're.
Those fibers are fast.
They really are. But again, they sort of showcase it, and they sort of the thing grows. It turns red just before it arrives. It's really good.
Oh, crikey! Yeah, nice.
I'd definitely say that. That's all about
Christ!
The other one.
All life obliterated.
Oh, the plan nearly worked as well.
Yeah.
I just missed the health pickup.
Yeah. I presume your tractor beam thing doesn't work on the rocks.
No. Oh, I was totally distracted by that suggestion.
To concentrate more.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So you're just keeping that where?
Yeah.
Just for
it's for emergencies.
Just when he needs it, or as last time?
Nope.
Just after he needs it.
Alright, should we crack on with looking at the marks?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot to like here, isn't there?
There really is.
Okay, let's talk about the presentation.
Right. No,
so,
give me.
This is basically graphics, sound, and key information. So, I mean, the graphics. Graphics are nice. Although my very nitpicky moan about the realism, but yeah, and the information design is really nice. I think the shield that's so clear.
The health bar is really clear as well.
Yeah,
I think also having the background be such a different style, you could argue makes the kind of hazards stand out.
All the different hazards look very different. I think
they sound very different as well.
Yeah. The kind of warning signs, the way the warning signs fade in.
I missed one. Oh no!
Here we go.
And then go red just before they appear. I think that's really good as well. Oh blimey!
So this is the other thing.
Oh no!
That I was going to talk about later, but I'm going to mention now as well because this seems a good place. I was kind of worried that with this game, level design would be an issue.
Yeah.
But the patterns that they're putting stuff in means they definitely put thought into the design.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so presentation. So I think kind of excellent would be key information is shown clearly, consistently appearing graphics, good use of audio. And I'd be very happy with that. Prizeworthy would be novel and clear way of showing key information, consistent and thematically resonant graphics, and excellent use of audio.
I think it might be
sort of getting that way.
The only problem I have is that the health pickup is red, but that's not the worst thing in the world.
So the way of showing key information isn't necessarily novel, but it's well thought through and it's integrated into the game extremely well. And the graphics are nice and resonant. They kind of the sound works well. You've got the ethereal space music.
Right, I'm just going to tank that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I maybe put them halfway between the two.
Yeah.
So what about gameplay? So this is essentially the mechanics, the controls, and whether or not you end up with meaningful play.
So we've got at least 3 different kinds of enemies, 2 different kinds of power-ups.
Yeah.
We've got the streak, which I guess that's just our score at the end as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So your job is to. So that was the interesting thing then is your job is to get a maximum streak, not to defend the most stuff.
Oh, there's a. Can I have that?
Stealing.
Let's find out what happens.
Too slow.
Yeah. So I think there's a decent set of mechanics. I think the mechanics work with one another. So the power-ups are powering up sensible things. The fact that some of the meteorites actually
is that man coming towards
interact
me?
with the asteroids.
Oh man, I'm really messing this up. Oh no. Oh dear.
Yeah.
So I think that all kind of works. Yes. That all kind of works well. The controls I think seem to be alright. You kind of seem happy.
Yeah.
One of the things I did wonder about was whether using the mouse was the best way of doing it, because your movements with the mouse don't actually correspond with the...
Yeah, I think though if you were using the keyboard it would get confusing as to which way it would go because you're moving in a circle and I'm really messing this up.
Yeah. I suppose the mouse shows where you would like it to be.
Yeah. Oh, the lasers destroy those things. That's interesting. Because if you had it here, and then moving it left and right moved it one way, when it went round to the other side it would.
Yeah.
So good would be a set of complementary mechanics, smooth usable controls leads to meaningful play.
It's definitely
there.
Yeah.
Excellent would be a wide set of complementary mechanics, intuitive controls, and enjoyable and meaningful play. I think I think you might
a lot of different
go higher than that, but I think it's probably there.
And you've got the speed and the health pickups, which because they take time to pull towards you, do give you decisions you have to make.
Any bugs? I can't see any.
Not that I've seen, I don't think.
So I think that
the speed pickup is temporary. That's sad.
Automatically puts it up to game is playable and reasonably complex. There are no obvious bugs. Prizeworthy will be higher complexity. I'm not quite sure it gets there, but I think it's definitely an excellent for bugs.
Yeah, I think so.
Level design. So this is an interesting one for all the reasons you said. So we're looking for a design that demonstrates the mechanics, has good pacing, and clear goal, risks, and rewards.
I think it really does have all of those.
And it does.
I agree with that.
So let's think about it. So it definitely demonstrates all the mechanics. They're all in play. The pacing, the levels are getting more complicated and more challenging.
But they are clearly designed because of the repeating patterns and stuff we're seeing. Like they've definitely put thought into the way all these
and the clear choice rewards, which in this type of game you'd have thought would be quite hard to integrate, but they've done it by making you choose between whether to get the power ups.
Oh, these are much slower. This is strange.
That is a bit of a weird choice.
Yes.
I think it's because you probably couldn't do that fast enough.
Yeah, but still, it would have been nice to have them behave a bit more.
It has an endless mode.
I think the level design is where do we get to? So the level design, I think it's definitely at the good level.
So the fact that they've got an endless mode, and I'm leaping ahead again, but that will tie into their core dynamic if it's what I think it is. But it also shows that they've put in some designed levels to showcase their level design. Yeah. And then they've sort of
an endless mode.
Yeah.
So, is this a sophisticated level design demonstrating a wide range of mechanics with varied pacing and balanced goal, risk, and rewards? Might be.
I think it might. It's basically it hinges on do we think the set of mechanics is wide enough, and I think.
Yeah, there's enough variety. I mean, we're not looking for
the
Civ 4, are we? We're kind of,
In which case, then I think it might. Be.
Yeah. Okay. I just realised I might have given away my age with Civ 4. What Civ are we on now?
6.
There we go. Right. Okay.
I played Civ 4.
Next up, tutorial design.
I think it's.
Should we go back to the tutorial?
Yeah, let's go back.
At least.
My hands getting really sweaty.
I mean, they've got a nice set of tutorial levels. they do seem to demonstrate things. They've got this. This is really nice as to articulate what your goal is.
I was quite confused at first because it wasn't clear it was a cutscene.
Yeah.
So I thought like maybe I should be controlling it.
So I do agree. It was slightly odd.
But that's something you could do by just like changing the aspect ratio of the screen briefly.
Or just reading a bit of text now. What?
Yeah.
1 day in space. ... What I do. Yeah. So the tutorials. I mean, it's a very structured tutorial. It's like, here's the first tutorial level, you're just defending against rocks. Here's a second tutorial with the next mechanic. Here's the next tutorial with the next mechanic. But it does work very well, and it's well paced, and it goes through all the things in a sensible way. So, in terms of the tutorial design, it kind of...
I assume you can die in this one.
So there's a couple of things they did as well, wasn't there? Like they showed that the bolt destroyed the asteroid before it hit you. So I think excellent would be a sophisticated level design that demonstrates a wide range of mechanics with good varied. Oh, that's the wrong one. Sorry, an integrated tutorial that communicates goals and rewards through level design and that introduces information and mechanics in a logical way that builds on what it's gone before.
So the other nice thing there is they send asteroids at you, so you're already pointing towards.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think because of that, because of the way, I think if they'd just done the mechanics one at a time, it would probably be down to a good level. But because of some of these little things they've done, it probably deserves to be up at the excellent. I think they've made a really good choice. Again, I kind of wouldn't say that they've
even just this bit where they're sort of really highlighting that, hey, these fast things move a lot faster than these asteroids.
Yeah,
like they have those three closing on you from basically the very start. There are some really nice touches.
So the praiseworthy stuff would be novelty in the way it introduces mechanics and a kind of particularly logical way of introducing a set of very complex mechanics.
Might not quite be.
Yeah, it's not quite. It's not quite there. I'm not sure, but it's very well. I mean, even like the little icons that come up is very good as well.
I was supposed to get that. Oh wait.
And they're doing some. I mean, maybe halfway between the two, even, right? It's a really nicely. Okay, what do they say their core dynamic was?
So their core dynamic is survival. They use this because the whole game revolves around the player, the planet and the shield, defending against the incoming enemies. The player can't move freely and is restricted to orbiting the planet. These facts, combined with the inclusion of scarce power-ups, enable a true survival experience. I would say the thing that actually makes it feel like a survival game to me is the fact that you've got this limited resource, your health, that you're husbanding as you sort of progress, and particularly the fact that they've included the endless level, where it's all about how long can you survive. Like, can you survive longer than you did?
And you have to make choices about that in terms of how do you maintain it with power-ups versus you may choose to take a deliberate hit, especially because the health heals all of your health. So a perfectly valid strategy is to enable a bunch of stuff to hit you, and then heal, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they've done a nice job of delivering on it.
So there's one thing that I'm slightly irritated by in the mechanics of this, which initially I was just going to say is, so if you're facing straight onto these, they bounce back straight.
Yeah.
But if you go off to the side, not quite that far to the side, they bounce back at an angle, which is fine, but because of the way that the shield's curved, it's not super easy to predict where that's going to be.
No. I can understand why they've done it, is to give you a little bit of choice into what you do, right? But
it's not super easy to make like an accurate, I'm going to use this to destroy this, but it'll probably hit something, so it's fine.
So excellent would be a clear core dynamic that suits the theme of the game and is well supported by an integrated set of mechanics and appropriate audio-visual choices. I think this is where they are, isn't it? I mean, they're kind of... Yeah. Very nice. And what about their feedback? What feedback did they say they got?
So they received lots of feedback, some of which they incorporated directly and others indirectly. One set of feedback was some sort of delay or usage on the effectiveness of the shield itself. Since the shield is the only way of defending yourself from the danger of space, we decided to incorporate this by stopping all movement with the tractor beam is active. This enables more of a challenge, more risk for collecting power-ups. Lowers the effectiveness of the shield, but yeah.
Yeah, because otherwise why wouldn't you just have the tractor beam all the time?
Yes.
Yeah. Another set was the scoring system for the game. One idea was for it to be some function of the lost remaining health.
Yeah.
However, after some testing and additional feedback, they decided to create a hit streak.
Yeah.
So again, which sort of ties into the survival thing. So, but obviously, the longer you survive, the longer you can maintain the streak.
Yes.
Next set of advice was introducing a single core feature at a time, so sort of iterative development things.
Yeah.
Not of the development, but of the tutorial. So
yes.
they introduce one feature per tutorial level, and then they start incorporating it all together. And the last one, which I'm assuming was from Max, was to have all of the levels unlocked from the start, so we can, just in case we get stuck, we can see.
In the unlikely event that we're not very good at playing your game.
This is the only one I've had any real trouble with.
Yeah. So so it sounds to me good is feedback was articulated and reasonable changes have been made successfully, and it feels like it's there. I'm not entirely sure whether they've done much interpretation of that.
Apart from the scoring system, where they've sort of tried out the thing that was directly suggested to them, found that it didn't quite fit, and then tried to incorporate different things. So
maybe halfway up a bit.
Yeah.
So sort of puts feedback sort of between good and excellent. Yeah, I mean I think they did a really nice job here. It's a really, really nice example, really carefully thought through.
This is not an effective strategy.
We should probably move on.
Yeah,
okay.
Okay, our next game is Exterminator New Australia.
Okay, so...
Alright, so you're going to the driving seat for this one.
Yeah, I'm sure that no intellectual property has been harmed in the making of this.
Okay, so...
Welcome, Initiate. This is the Galactic Defense League Operative Training Program.
See,
why is Operative Training Program
it's a premise.
Yeah.
Okay,
so press enter.
Is Operative Training Program not a proper noun?
Just kidding. This is yeah, we're learning how the game works.
Okay.
Let's learn how to move. WASDA. Let's do it. Okay.
Yeah. So your objectives there, they fill up as you move each of those different ones.
So that's good, because they're also, I guess, then teaching you how the objective system works.
Yeah, that's true. It's a little bit hand-holding.
Yeah.
But we'll let him off. If you've got stuff to say walking isn't going to cut it, you should try sprinting.
Right, slightly tongue-in-cheek. There's a lot of text screens to go through, though, just to get to the next bit of the tutorial. You
can sprint by holding down left shift while moving.
Sprint down.
For direction.
That seems a bit redundant. You could have just had sprint anywhere.
Yeah.
But...
Alright, let's try.
I'm sure you're itching to test out that fancy futuristic gun.
Yeah. So one thing that's a bit confusing is because I have to press enter and then the mouse.
Yeah.
So I have to.
The objectives.
Those trees. Let's get those trees.
And what other?
Please don't tell me the next step is to destroy the trees. For a standing display skill.
I do quite like how tongue-in-cheek.
Oh wow, that was.
Oh, these giant bugs will do. Left click to shoot and kill each of these bugs. These ones are harmless.
That doesn't make me feel better about killing them.
Let's kill the harmless bugs.
So they do. So they make sure that you use every mechanic before they move on to the next one, which is nice.
Brace yourself.
They do kind of beat you over the head with that.
They do a bit, but.
The gauge at the side of your screen has filled up after killing those bugs.
Oh
yes. Your ability gauge. You have fancy abilities you can use by pressing 1, 2, or 3 on your keyboard.
Okay.
Okay. Try it now by pressing 1.
Oh.
Isn't that a turret? Oh yeah.
Okay, so you can put
a turret. Right. Okay.
Rapid fire.
Rapid fire.
Oh, okay. And ability shield.
Okay. Ooh. Press 3. Trust me on this one. Oh yeah, it's a little nuke symbol.
Oh.
That was the Australia unlimited kaboom emitter. Very nice. Okay.
That's very, very sweet. I like it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go play.
I think if you're gonna have that kind of very deliberate hand-holdy tutorial, making it
sarcastic.
yeah,
This
entertaining
kinda
is
works.
it's a good way to. Ooh.
So you've got your first power up, whatever that was.
So
that was a turret. You've got a turret.
So we got to exterminate 150 bugs and the great big bug.
Wait, ooh.
But that's not the great big bug. That's just
a bug.
Oh,
You've
nearly got your
nuke, and you've got everything now.
Oh.
So what happens? Oh, okay. Yeah. So
It doesn't seem to require that much to fill up the nuke meter. Oh, it's gone down again.
That's because we used it for something.
Oh, right. You had a nuke and you used the power to do something else.
So the actual game itself,
yeah,
it like feels a little bit simple.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's still a number of mechanics working together. But it actually looks quite fun.
Yeah.
Ooh, those.
Oh.
Okay, so the nuke doesn't kill everything on the screen.
Did you deliberately do that to try out the nuke?
Yeah. But I pressed 4 buttons.
That's it. The fact that you're having to move from your movement controls to the.
Yes, that's the problem, isn't it?
Okay, should we start going through the mark scheme?
Oh yeah.
Because it looks like this. It looks like this is it. For,
well,
we're nearly at the great big bug.
We've got 60 bugs to go.
Is that the great big bug?
Nope.
No.
Okay, so the first one's visual design, right?
Yeah. So
presentation.
Presentation.
So graphics, information design, audio. What do we think?
So the health bars that remain after the bugs die.
Yeah, no, that's a shame.
That's kind of annoying because otherwise, the fact that they've got health bars on all the different bugs and you can see like what they do.
Even that's not the great bug. Okay.
Especially when you've got that many of them in an area, it starts to get really fun.
But otherwise, I mean, the graphics are kind of are fairly consistent. It's clean. I think the bar on the left works really well. I like the fact the icons appear
like as they
go, and they make a lot of sense. The bugs, there's some variety in the bugs. It's just generally they behave a bit differently.
No, it is basically just this one is bigger.
This one has more health, yeah.
I suppose
the smaller ones are faster.
Oh,
what just happened?
Is that the great big bug?
Oh, you have to find the great big bug. Apparently.
Okay, so it's not like there are only.
That's a little bit of a shame.
Oh, that's.
Oh no!
Do you think that's the great big bug?
Okay. Oh no! That is.
That's a big bug.
It doesn't seem very dangerous though.
No, I was gonna say.
Away from it.
I was gonna say that it might have been useful to have the camera a bit further out because I can't see that far.
And the
But to be fair, having the camera that close does make the great big bug feel a lot bigger.
That is true.
Yeah.
So I think what's missing here is a bit of variety, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's kind of.
We need some bugs that spit acid or.
Yeah, just. Here come the bugs. Okay, anyway, we were doing presentations. So,
right.
So the objectives are clear. They're maybe a bit obsolete, to be honest.
But okay. So what have we got? So that the key information is shown.
Sound design, like the gun sounds.
Gun sounds work. It's all kind of so. Good would be key information is shown clearly. Graphics are consistent. Appropriate use of audio. It's definitely there.
Be nice if there was some background music, maybe.
So excellent would be appealing graphics, as well as the good use of. Oh, sorry. The first one was appropriate use of audio. This is good use of audio. So I think it's not quite up at the excellent. I think it kind of feels a little.
The lack
bit
of all of the sound effects I think work really well, but the lack of music, maybe, or actually.
But I think we can record it as good, right?
Or like some ambient noise at least.
Yeah, something.
Or like the bugs making noise as well.
What about gameplay? So that's kind of controls, a good set of mechanics, and meaningful play. So the controls I think are fine, right?
Yeah.
Well, we had the issue of
the.
Oh yes,
Yeah,
of
you
course.
did
You
have
did
the
say,
issue of hitting
yeah,
the
that's
buttons,
true.
but-
So it looks fun to play, but it doesn't look like there's a lot there. So for example, the turret you never used in. Oh no, you didn't use it once.
Just at the beginning,
but there's no real need to do
Can you
it.
try to like build up a little corner of turrets and see?
So say, do the turrets last forever?
Because that's the other one of that. Yeah.
Maybe.
Also, do the turrets add to your power bar?
Oh, yeah, let me put today. Yeah, they do.
Excellent. So I guess if the turrets do last forever, then you've got...
But they stay there, so I have to move to get new enemies.
Well, that's kind of okay.
That's a valid strategy,
Because you
luring
want
them
to
into a
lure
trap.
the big bug to the turret.
Also, the turrets don't appear to have a minimum range.
Oh yeah.
Oh no.
That's actually.
So I would say that's probably a balance issue.
Yeah, that's a problem.
I guess.
That's a problem.
Oh, but they don't stay forever.
They are temporary.
They are
okay.
temporary. Okay.
Okay. So, alright.
Because they add to your power bar, though, you could just sit in the middle of the map, put turrets down, and probably just keep spawning them forever. I guess you'd have to try that.
Yeah.
So, okay. So, in terms of gameplay, then. So we what are the mechanics here? We've got 3 different types of power up.
Arguably different types of bugs, although
For a little.
that's unexpected.
Yeah.
The bugs aren't necessarily meaningfully different.
They're just bigger and
Different
Okay.
colours, more
different
history.
speeds, I suppose.
Actually, is it? Yeah, the turrets. That bug appeared to be bugged. As do those.
Oh yeah, floating bugs.
Yeah.
I assume this is because they were all kind of pushing it.
Yeah, the different power-ups.
Yeah.
The fact that you've got a bar that charges the power-ups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have some kind of choice, yeah.
So they kind of work together. The controls a bit clunky about activating the power-ups, but
once you get used to it, I guess
it's not too bad.
Yeah.
There is some meaningful choice in like, do I save up for the nuke?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And is there meaningful play? So we are playing it. I kind of.
I think it's lacking.
There's not enough. It's a little bit lacking in choices, right?
Yeah, it's
essentially they've not done enough to make the power-ups. The power-ups should have been choices, I think.
Yeah.
It's not even. I mean, they are, and it's.
Yeah.
Do I use the turret or do I save up for the nuke?
Like you make choices with power-ups, but you can't. Like that's the only one. Like even in terms of which enemies you fight, by the time you see them, they're already chasing you, so you can't make a decision.
Turrets.
I also
turret.
can't see the health of the.
Yeah, that's.
What?
Yeah, got it. So okay. So in terms of gameplay, good would be a set of complementary mechanics, smooth usable controls, and meaningful play. I kind of think they kind of get there.
Yeah, we're almost there.
The mechanics could be a little bit more complementary. They kind of
satisfactory would be a set of mechanics, usable controls, some meaningful play.
We might be.
I guess that's the thing. That if it's perfectly possible to just put turrets down and let them shoot things, and then keep putting turrets down.
So can I just spam the one button? And it's not meaningful play.
Doesn't that kind of undercut the other mechanics?
But you have to move to get new.
But if they don't have a minimum range, do the turrets automatically find targets?
I don't think so.
Let's see.
So again, part of the problem is that the mechanics don't fit well enough with one another. So it would make sense that if the turrets had a limited range, then luring things to the turrets becomes a meaningful thing.
I mean, right now they don't have a limited range, but there's so many enemies that they are shooting some other enemies.
And then there's like one of the abilities just gives you like you shoot faster.
Yeah.
But if the one before that is a second gun, that kind of like surely it's better to have like 2 turrets rather than just shooting slightly faster yourself.
So I think what we're saying is it's probably closer to satisfactory than good. Right? A set of mechanics, usable controls, and some meaningful play.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. That's it. Bugs. Well, there's loads of bugs.
There's loads of bugs. A couple of ones where you can seem to get thrown into the air a little bit. Some of the bugs stick in midair.
But it's not a game break.
Yeah,
it sounds like it's good.
Well, I think it's because when they because they're just running towards you, and they seem to constantly move towards you. When you get into a group of them, it might like force the character up
or something.
Yeah.
So good would be game is playable and is reasonably complex. There are only minor bugs, and these are uncommon. It kind of feels like it's that.
Yeah. I don't think we've seen anything that would break it. Do you reckon you could use that to jump out of them?
Here's an interesting one. Level design.
So yeah, this is the thing. The level, the actual physical level itself.
You can.
Oh,
and the bugs are out of the map.
Nice. Oh, you can just keep going.
Yeah.
Is there a building over there?
Oh,
it's
just another separate wall in case you do that.
I think it might just be the edges of the walls.
No, I don't think. I think it's just
Yeah.
Are there edges or is it infinite?
So I think we're outside the play area now. So
surely this plane has to run out eventually.
Yeah.
He's off to find out. So level design. Yeah. So
the physical space itself isn't.
It's not.
There's not much to it. It's a big space with some trees in it.
So again, they kind of they maybe not thought enough about the way that some other mechanics would interact with what they have already.
So I will say
like there is terrain, for example, with
things?
the turrets.
Yeah, I guess the range is quite
big. So there is some design.
There's the edge.
You get the purple bugs only seem to show up when you've killed a certain number of things.
Because they're just further away.
Is it just because they're further away, or is it because...
I think it's because they're further away.
I think we'd have to...
In which case, that's still technically some design. They've put the harder bugs further away, so you have to find your way to them.
Yeah,
exactly.
And they've got the kind of big bug, but it's not quite clear when that's triggered.
The turrets, although they're targeting enemies, don't shoot through the walls, because after you went out of bounds, they didn't kill anything. So even things like having some kind of reasonably large obstacles that you can move around and trick enemies into.
There should have been some stuff like, if you put stuff up higher, it does extra damage, for example. Or you can't shoot through the terrain, so put more interesting terrain in so that you can position the turrets and then funnel the bugs into killing zones.
Yeah,
it's just like some kind of interaction like that. I think would have made a big difference.
Yeah.
And without those things, it feels quite sparse on the level design.
Yeah, there's definitely evidence that they've put some thought into it, but they haven't expanded it enough.
A pass would be a level design that demonstrates some of the mechanics, but poorly balanced or paced, and with a lack of clarity of the goals, risks, and rewards.
It might be a little
bit better than that. Maybe. So satisfactory is a sensible level design that demonstrates some of the mechanics with an attempt at pacing and some goals, risks, rewards.
I think that sounds closer to it.
Yeah. Okay. What about the tutorial? The tutorial, I think, was a lot better.
I think it was my favourite part.
Yeah, favourite of the game was the Saki tutorial. So when it started, I was a little bit concerned that it was too hand-holdy and it was just taking us through.
I still think it was too hand-holdy, but the fact that it's like very tiny to mitigate
but the sarcasm...
You can't move before it tells you to.
Can you shoot?
No.
Okay.
So they've done some nice stuff here. So a good would be a mostly integrated tutorial that communicates most goals, risks, rewards through level design and that introduces information and mechanics in a logical way that fits with what has gone before.
It's not really integrated.
Well, it's integrated in that I know they have a separate tutorial level, but they're not just putting a wall of text up. They're not telling you. They're allowing you to, they're saying,
shoot.
Here's a battle. Yeah. You're going to learn how to shoot bugs. You're going to give you enough sprint.
Oh yeah, you can sprint. That's the thing. Did we actually use that in the main one?
You're sprinting all the time.
Almost. Yeah.
So again, it's like, well, why would you not sprint?
That's a good point.
Yeah, why not sprint? Yeah. I still think that the tutorial. So the tutorial is. I think it hits the good. Mostly integrated tutorial communicates most goals, risks, rewards, level design, and it introduces information and mechanics in a logical way. The excellent would be it does it in a logical way that builds on what's gone before. So as it starts to teach you about how you can combine things and do interesting, and it just doesn't do that.
Have that.
No.
But it still probably hits the good, I think.
Yeah.
I guess, like, technically you have the harmless enemies and then the ones that attack you. And it teaches you that killing things can give you power-ups.
Yeah.
But it doesn't sort of teach you them in combination.
Wait, you can climb onto the bugs.
What about the core dynamic? What did they say it was?
So, interestingly for this one, they said this was destruction. Okay?
Yep.
Because killing bugs, powers you up so you can kill more bugs.
Yeah, that feels good to kill them.
And that's it. So this game could have very easily gone two ways. I think it's something that we talked to them because they were unsure about whether they wanted it to be survival or destruction.
Yeah.
And if they made it endless and it was just kill as many bugs as you can, it'd be survival. But they decided they deliberately wanted to focus on the destruction aspect. And I think they've actually pulled together a set of mechanics.
I think it works. I think it works well. So good would be a clear core dynamic that suits the theme of the game and that is well supported by the primary mechanics and mostly appropriate audiovisual choices. And excellent would be that it's supported by an integrated set of mechanics. So
this is tricky because again we were saying like the set of mechanics doesn't necessarily combine together in an interesting way. I think it's probably between the two though, because it's not just the primary mechanic of shooting things. It feels destruction-y. It's the fact that they've got the power-up thing. It's the more you shoot stuff, the more powerful ways you've got of destroying things.
So halfway between the two.
I was concerned that if the turrets because they're static could potentially like discourage you from moving around and finding them. But because they have an infinite range, it doesn't really matter because you can just drop one and run off, and it'll help.
Not that much, really.
Well, it might help. It'll fill your bar quicker.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and lastly, feedback. What did they say their feedback was?
So, as I mentioned, the main bit of feedback they got was picking a core dynamic. So, they chose not to include a survival endless level because they didn't want that sort of. They didn't want it sort of pulling in two different directions. So, they went for a level where you specifically have to exterminate all the bugs.
This is interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, if you don't shoot it doesn't tell you off.
Yeah, go on, sorry, what are they saying?
They also were asked to implement a level select, so for debugging purposes.
Yeah.
Make the game moderate difficulty, make sure the player is aware of abilities and reasons to save versus reasons to spend, so the risk-reward thing. Yeah. So they introduce the player to each of the abilities in order, allow them to test them out in the tutorial so they get a feel for what each one does. Each one has its threshold visually higher on the screen, so intuitively a player knows that the abilities you work harder to use are more powerful.
Yep, okay.
Yeah. And make it clear when a boss fight is coming up. So they're showing the list of objectives, one of which is killing a boss, so they know they've got the giant bugger. Which,
like, you know it's happening, but it's a complete surprise when it actually happens.
Yeah,
because a giant bug just appears in the screen.
So, I mean, I think they've clearly explained. So the first one is probably the most convincing one, right?
Yeah.
Although they haven't really said how they did it.
They said they've not included a survival type level,
but they haven't really said why.
They've not
so
exactly
they said stick to your core dynamic, and they've said we were told to stick to our core dynamic, so we did.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, well, how did you do that? You know, what did you change?
So that's so I think the one they actually articulated best was the one talking about the ability gauge and the fact that they tried to make it clear the ones
save us
at the
reasons to
top
spend. Yeah, okay.
But you're right.
Right. So for feedback, good would be feedback was articulated and reasonable changes have been successfully made. And the difference to excellent is whether or not they've interpreted that feedback.
Sorry.
It sounds to me like your point about the bar is that's interpreting the feedback a little bit.
But equally, they haven't articulated the
first one
necessarily the core dynamic.
So maybe on average that puts them down a bit to the good.
Yeah, I think so.
Good stage for feedback. Okay, nice game. Let's move on. Okay, so our next game is Ants of Empires, which sounds promising.
Age of Empires, but with ants.
I
think that might actually be what it is.
Yeah, it's the same font. Love it. Okay.
Same music as well, I think.
I mean, surely it couldn't be the same music. It would have to be just very similar music.
I like this already. the whole ants thing. Nice little okay.
So I saw them testing this, and genuinely the way the ants move creeps me out.
Yeah,
they've got that little sort of
just that little skitteriness. They don't just move in like a it creeps me out in a good way. Cause I mean, they feel like actual ants.
Okay.
Right there.
So click on the thing.
I'm quite confused.
No.
No.
Okay, so I can't.
Is that apple getting smaller as they're eating it?
I think yes, it is.
So there's a hotkey that you can press, but it doesn't work when you're not focused on it.
That makes sense. So
oh wait, does it? Wait. Oh no, it does.
It does.
Okay.
What's the hotkey do?
It builds more ants.
So you see they're taking apple back to the.
It's not clear that it's doing. Because you can. Well, it's 42 out of 75.
How would you know that's ants?
Oh, because there's a picture of an ant.
There's a little picture of an ant.
Oh, I thought the ant was okay. I couldn't see that because of the ants underneath it. Alright, and you've got these other apples on the side. What do they do?
I'm pressing J quite a few times, but if you click on, if we go onto here, it's not gone up. So I don't know if it works or not.
Maybe it doesn't.
Oh, I see. So you click on the base,
but it went up that time.
So you've got 58 out of 70. Oh, right, and that's making sense. See. So the problem is because you can't actually see the ants being created.
Yeah, it would have been nice to have like some kind of indicator.
Right, and then what's the objective? Are you supposed to get all the apples or what?
Well, we have the apple is.
So if you scroll over there, there's a big apple.
Yeah.
So if you click on that and then on that, there you go.
Oh, okay, okay, but the arrow you can't. Oh, so now we've got text.
You lose if it destroys your colony.
So a little bit of text, I think, at the start would have been useful.
Build a barracks. Okay. B.
Okay, so if you click on it, it flashes, but it doesn't do anything.
That's odd. So we'll put the barracks presumably somewhere to defend against the spider?
Yeah. Build
5 at your barracks.
Soldier ants, I guess.
Okay. Oh, attack the spider.
I don't want to attack the spider though. I want to leave it alone.
Why?
Wait, no, the spider. There we go. No, come back. You're too far forward. Wait, what's happening now? Can I pan with the ant? Okay, you can pan.
I think you just can you get more soldier ants? Oh no, you killed the spider. Now destroy the nest.
The spider nest.
2 ants to 1 spider. Why did it make me go 5? Man.
Can you zoom out? Is that?
Yeah.
So are the soldier ants different than the other ants?
So it's interesting that
soldier ants can attack.
But are they physical? Are they? I can't. If you got them highlighted,
yeah,
it's just a different colour.
Yeah, they're a different colour.
No, don't stop attacking the nest.
Why?
I can't select these ones.
Yeah, okay. So you can just sort of tell them en masse, go and get this apple. Which you could probably do now, actually, because the spider's dead.
Destroyed the nest.
Feed
the spiders.
Ah.
Oh, okay.
Right, now you're in the main game.
Okay.
So
the thing I noticed is that you can zoom out.
C is to place another base.
They're donuts. But so you can see all the way over here, but if you zoom in, you can't see to the edge, which is a little bit. Okay.
So can you just build a base anywhere, or do you have to send ants out?
Does it have to be in your territory, or
let's find out.
Let's send them out to get some more apples.
Wait, how many? Yeah, I did start with 75. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I keep having to select them. Go get that boy.
Okay. There we go.
Can I tell them to get multiples? Yeah.
And then can you change ants between an ant's nest? Can you do it?
Oh, you can only have 3 apples selected at a time. I've discovered.
Okay. That's fine. There they come.
Now we play the waiting game.
The more ants.
That's the number of apples you can make.
And then an ant's nest costs 200 apples.
Yes.
And I think we have to build a barracks before we get those for those horrible spiders off the right.
I don't know where we could potentially. or whether there is a particular well, I guess it means you can have more ants.
What do you guys feel about the blank background? So the only thing on here are the kind of interactive elements.
You can make the number negative, is what I assume that red flashing is.
I think it just means you don't have
enough.
Oh,
maybe I don't have enough, yeah.
So it goes to 1 and then the 1 flashes red. Like it's a little bit flat, but it also, like you say, the screen's quite busy as it is, especially if, if you had a dirt texture over the back of it, it might be trickier to see your ants.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily the most visually appealing, but it does make it a lot more playable, I think.
So what happens if I just unscrub that? If I tell them, go get that,
they're all gonna die. So the spiders, so
the spiders have a sort of red zone, and do they just come and attack your ants when they go in there?
So it makes sense that they'd kill the ants when they go to that section, but they don't seem to be a threat otherwise.
No.
Oh.
Yeah, they just mow those ants down.
But it's not.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to be actively. Yeah, they're not really actively going for the ants. They're just kind of wandering around.
That's interesting.
Right, stop. Come back over it. There's no point in sacrificing ant lives needlessly.
Well, you could build a barracks.
But the ones who have been dispatched are still going over there.
Let's build an ant barracks that's going to
get
some spiders.
Will they attack the barracks if I put it here?
Well, like you say, they don't seem to.
Does the barracks have health?
Who knows? Here we go.
Kill the nests. Oh, the barracks costs more now. Oh, okay, that annoyed them.
That's interesting. So they will deliberately attack your soldier ants, but not.
Okay, and also the barracks.
Oh,
okay.
The barracks has got health.
This is bad. This is bad.
Happy.
Defense.
Ah, yeah.
The spiders.
Clashing of swords.
This is significantly harder than the tutorial led me to believe. Do the ants automatically attack?
You've always got one of those.
Yes, they do.
So that's good.
Rants. The only acceptable strategy is I can't select the barracks because the spiders are on it, which is annoying.
Yeah.
There we go. No, it's dead.
Yeah.
And a new barracks still costs more.
Let's start going through. So, presentation. What do you think?
So I think it's quite nice. The fact that when you in like the overlay mode, it shows you your territory, the enemy territory.
Yep.
The fact that you can sort of see.
I think like, the kind of the iconography is nice, and once you understand what they're saying, the instructions are nice.
Like the donuts are maybe a little bit out of place.
Yeah, that is very strange.
Like it's kind of fun.
It's a very Simpson donut. It's not just like it's.
I think it might be a Simpsons donut.
Yeah, it is.
Like the art style is completely different to everywhere else. Yeah. Oh wait, what's attacking me? Oh no, there's a big red.
Oh, what's that?
Fight, kill.
That's not a thing we were told about in the tutorial.
No, it's got a red spot on the back of it.
Does that mean it's?
That means a different type of spider.
Did that come from here?
No, it came from
the top right.
Up in the corner.
Top right?
But there were 3 spiders here.
I've murdered one of them.
Oh, okay.
There's not much interesting.
Okay, so presentation. It's like we said, it's clear. You can see what's going on. The icons are nice.
I like
the
little
health around things works well.
You get that little war horn. Oh,
little war horn, yeah.
Yeah,
that's good.
There we go. Another spider.
And that kind of so maybe these are random attacks or something.
I guess. Yeah. So I remember when we were talking to them in one of the labs. I mentioned that it didn't feel like there was much pressure to do anything.
Yeah.
So I think they've added these additional spiders to try and. Oh, I'm not collecting anything.
No. More stuff. You want to build another.
We've got another barracks.
No, you probably want to build another ant thing.
Oh no, there's more. Can I? Oh, okay.
So so with the audio's good. I think definitely is looking nice.
Can I instruct them to heal the barracks? No, that can't be healed.
Right, so in terms of presentation, good would be key information shown clearly, graphics are consistent, appropriate use of audio. Definitely that, I think.
Well, so I don't think the graphics are that consistent, but I do think the audio is better than good.
So you've got like this hill, and all the ants and the spiders and the cobwebs are all pretty flat, but then these apples
And the donuts are
like
it's really it's the donuts that are bugging.
And then
the rest of it.
I don't know. The donuts kind of the donuts and the apples are the same sort of
It's
cartoon style.
those spiders.
kind of not though. I mean, yeah, right.
Miles away.
It's not too clashing. All right, so we think it's definitely at least good.
Yeah, I think there's a good use of music as well. Actually,
Yeah, I do really. The fact that it changes based on like when you're being attacked or stuff is nice.
yeah. So for me, it's good.
Come back.
Maybe for the reasons you said, maybe not too much higher than that. But let's go for a good. The gameplay, the complementary mechanics, are the controls good? Is
the
there meaningful
controls
play?
are extremely annoying.
So why is that?
It's gonna die. So, well, they're not extremely annoying. They're mostly fine.
Who's that?
Wow, that's harsh.
Yeah.
So there's the
Truth
fact
hurts.
that like the worker ants you control through your base,
Yeah.
but the other ants you control by directly
Yeah.
selecting. And then if there's enemies on top of something you're trying to select, you can't select them because it's colliding with the enemies. It's not.
So what? So the mechanics? I mean, there's
So you've got worker ants, soldier ants, building different structures.
yeah.
Like gathering.
You've got the kind of you haven't got another anthill yet, but presumably that lets you sort of expand your ant empire.
I was about to build one, and then I got ganked.
I'm curious to know whether or not you can get ants to go to another anthill.
So you've got the stationary spiders. You've got the random spider
Random
attacks
attack
as well.
spiders, and you've got apples and donuts. We've not sort of found out what donuts do.
Let's find out. Is there a safe donut? I think the donuts might only spawn near spiders.
I think
So I
that's
go.
deliberate.
Oh,
But what are
there's one of the red spiders.
Oh,
So
interesting.
maybe there are specific nests that produce. Because to be fair, a few of the red spiders all came from the same direction.
yeah.
So maybe it is the case that those
But
ones.
we don't quite know what the donuts do. But there's donuts.
Right.
Can you, if you just click on one, like I know it's out of range, but does it just show how much food it's worth? Like maybe. It's,
Yeah. So that's
Yeah, so
1,000.
So
Okay, they're just big
like
food.
extra sources.
Okay, so I'm
So-
going to try
so there's a decent set of
attacking these
mechanics, right?
cobwebs specifically.
So there's a decent set of mechanics. The controls, they're not too bad. I know
So
you
the other
said
thing
about
is
the
that
overlapping, but
You've got these buildings change your overall, like how much of a type of ant you can build, which is
Yeah.
fine. But with the barracks, you have to. So each barracks gives you 5 additional ants, but you then have to build 5 in one barracks, and then 5 in another, and then 5 in another.
yeah,
So I think if you end up with having a lot of barracks and you need to replenish an army, you're going to spend a lot of time clicking between buildings.
but aren't you going to do that with the
Which is
anthill?
what
Exactly the same. Just the anthill contains more things.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I think it's kind of not frustrating that although like the total number of ants you can have has increased, you still have to. Each building is still quite limited.
If you build another anthill, it gives you another capacity for 75 ants, and you'd have to manage 2 anthills.
I guess, but it's
I don't
mainly
think
because the
that's-
barracks is so low, and I think that if you end up playing a long game of this and you have say 10 or 12 barracks, that's going to get frustrating.
Yeah, okay. But... So let's have a look. So we've got gameplay.
Kill.
So good would be a set of complementary mechanics, smooth usable controls, and meaningful play. I kind of think it's there.
Yeah.
The mechanics all fit together. It kind of you can control it. Two little issues, but
I think
and you've got play. You know, you can
the
play
play,
it.
the play is very meaningful because the whole game is driven by your decision of like, do I risk getting this apple that's near a spider thing? When do I attack? Where do I attack? How long do I build up before I attack? All that kind of things.
So I wouldn't say it's intuitive and smooth controls, which is what the excellent is.
And I do think that on the point of the
is it enjoyable and meaningful play?
I think on the point of like meaningful play, if I'm right about how these attack spiders work, the fact that they come from specific nests, so you can choose to target them early on to like remove that threat. It might not be the way it works, but if that is the case, then that also adds to it because then you have the like actual strategic choices to make in the long term as well.
Yeah.
So this is just sort of like an initial prototype.
Yeah.
But I think I think I'd enjoy playing this.
Yeah, I think the enjoyable and meaningful play comes from as Callum was saying, the kind of depth of the strategic choices.
That's it. It's
but watching you play, I want you to. I really want you to build another anthill.
Yeah, but that's just not useful to me right now.
But no, then you'll gather apples faster, and you'll be able to.
No, you're right. I just don't.
Go one over there.
I just don't.
That's it there.
Well, we're about to clear this. This cobweb's about to go.
Yeah, go on up the top there.
Oh, I can't.
It's got to be inside your.
Yeah,
it does. All right, quick, bring the ants back. We're under attack.
But then.
Where's it coming from? So he's coming from maybe down there.
So that's it. So the pair that made this game have made a really interesting choice. They've gone for a much more complex genre of game to try and implement, which leads to a lot more meaningful play because of the inherent, like I said, it's all driven by your decisions.
It'll expand your border.
Oh,
you put the barracks
there.
There you go.
Oh god, they're taking too long to get back.
But the problem is, there's a lot to balance and
there's a lot of stuff. Actually, so one of the things I really like about it is that they haven't gone completely nuts with the mechanics, and so you've only got 2 different types of buildings, and it's like, but I think I kind of think it's so difficult with this type of game.
I would really have liked it if there was maybe there's a food resource and a building resource. So you've got to gather wood, typical sort of stuff.
Also,
but I think you're right, because it's a prototype. I think keeping it simple is definitely the best move.
Clicking to make 75 ants.
So where were we for gameplay? So we said. I was making an argument that good. I said a complementary mechanics and smooth usable controls are meaningful play, and you were kind of talking about it. Kind of does it crank up to the enjoyable play?
Or at least
it's kind of halfway between the two.
I think maybe.
Oh wait, no, you guys are staying here.
Bugs.
Are there any bugs? There's loads of bugs. Look at all the bugs.
So, other than stuff like not being able to select buildings through enemies, which has been a problem, but isn't a big one. I haven't noticed any bugs.
So for me, I think it's a relatively complex game. So I think that kind of puts it in the excellent category. Game is playable and is reasonably complex, and there are no obvious bugs.
Okay, it's fine.
Level design.
So here's the thing. Again, it's sort of a big empty space with some resources scattered through it.
Yeah.
However, stuff like putting the donuts next to spiders shows some evidence that they have thought about the placement of some of these objects. I don't know how the rest of them are placed though. Whether do you always start with a couple of apples near you to get you going? It's kind of difficult to say.
No, there's nothing that kind of gives that indication.
Right. So
and also with the level design. So what are we after? So we said we want a sensible level design that demonstrates a number of mechanics. So I think it does do that.
Yeah.
With good pacing and clear goals, risks, and rewards. So I think you do have clear goals, risks, and rewards because you have to make decisions about: do you go for more risky things covered in spiders, or do you go for safer things? How do you build up? And they seem to be clumped together in that way.
You've got clear short-term goals.
Yes.
What is your long-term goal?
Yeah.
No, you guys keep going. You guys.
Is it
and pacing as well? I think. I
think we were. So I know that the long-term goal is to defeat all the spiders because they told me that in the expo. But there's nothing in the game that tells me that.
It might have said that in the tutorial. We're about to start talking about that, so maybe we should go back and have a look at it. But
I'm so close.
I know you are.
Look, so we've cleared out another attack spider nest.
So okay, so you've got. And that's
this is the thing.
So the other thing with the pacing is we're straight into this with loads of stuff going on. Why aren't there 1 or 2 initial levels where it's very again we kind of got. We start off and there's another clump of stuff with a couple of spiders, and our job is to clear out the spiders, right? And then we kind of and then it ramps up and it gets more and more complicated. And
the attack spiders,
they've kind of again it wouldn't take. You don't need more mechanics. It's just just make the levels gradually more sophisticated.
So the other thing is so there is some degree of pacing though. There's still that. The attack spiders that they send towards you or something, they give you something to sort of work towards, and then they give you a period of respite to sort of build back up again.
Yes.
I don't know how quickly they.
Okay. So I would say that we've got a sensible. So the good one is a sensible level design that demonstrates a number of mechanics. I'm happy with that. I would say we've got satisfactory pacing, and there's an attempt at pacing. which is and it comes about naturally because you start off in this sort of slightly clear zone, and then you have to go off and tackle the spiders as well.
Yeah, weirdly, if anything, the pacing is going to get worse as the game progresses because you're going to clear out more of the spiders.
Yes. So that was the point I was going to make, is that the attack spiders are really the only thing that happens independently of your actions. Yeah. So once you clear out all of the things that produce them, like you're just waiting.
I kind of think on balance, and the goals, risks, and rewards, satisfactory would be some goals and risks and rewards.
So I think that might be where we sit.
I think actually we're probably at satisfactory, probably on the higher end, but I would still put it in the satisfactory category. I think.
Fair enough.
Right, we're just gonna take that loss.
Tutorial design. So think back to that tutorial. Again, quite a managed tutorial. I would probably have rathered that we had a couple of actual gameplay levels where we were learning as we went.
I can't actually think.
But it was learning through doing. They were kind of showing you what to do. All that stuff was working right.
So to be fair, I did speak to them in some of the lab sessions. Yeah. And I did say sort of like RPG, RTS sort of games like that tend to have sort of a little tutorial zone where you have to sort of learn the mechanics, and then you have the main game, if you like. Yeah. So I can see why they've done it that way.
Yeah. But if we go back to the tutorial,
the problem is this bit there's nothing to tell you what to do. There's an arrow saying
actually
click on
you can't. Oh, you can click on that, but
there's no instructions on that.
So hang on.
So these arrows appear at the side.
So look, you can look around.
So you can move around.
So what they've tried to do is they've tried to do a very wordless RTS tutorial.
But you can also use the keyboard, which is
so that means click on this thing.
And then click on
and
this
then
thing.
The issue is it tells you to click on that, but
it's off screen.
Yeah.
I think they've almost done too little.
I can see why they've tried to do it without words.
So now you get a text box.
Build 10 more.
But why didn't they do that for anything else?
Yeah.
That's it. Like
10. Like, I'm gonna build 30.
Like as I was saying before, an RTS is like a really complicated genre to try and do for something like this, and I'm glad they tried.
And this is the thing,
but they've got to communicate some quite complex ideas.
And now they've quite a nice job there. They zoomed over there and said, "Look, some spiders."
Yeah.
But so it's just they were just missing at the beginning, I think.
Yeah.
So funny enough, if they just had a couple of those at the beginning, and again, it's maybe playtesting. It's like to them, it's absolutely obvious this is what you do. But when you're faced with it from the very first time, because now we're into this, and it's like, oh, okay. Build a barracks, there's the barracks, press B to build a barracks.
Also, this is interesting. In the tutorial, you have to press B, you can't click. But in the actual game, I'd completely forgotten about that, and I was just clicking to build the structures.
Okay.
So this actually teaches you that clicking doesn't work, when in the actual game it does.
So good would be a mostly integrated tutorial that communicates most of the goals, risks, rewards through level design, and introduces information and mechanics in a logical way that fits with what's gone before. I think they're there. Yeah, it seems like a pretty good description of what they've done, actually. What did they say their core dynamic was?
But then,
now this is interesting. What do you
before
think
we go on to that, the other thing is that you then have those attack spiders that don't get introduced here, and it's never explained how they work.
No, that's true.
And they're really important in the actual game because it's the only way to lose, really, because the other spiders don't.
But for me, that's what's keeping them at the good. It's kind of so it's mostly integrated. It communicates most of the goals, risks, and rewards. Yeah. So they haven't covered everything basically. There's bits missing.
But it doesn't actually tell you what the goal is either.
So they don't tell you what the goal is. They don't tell you the spiders. They don't tell you about the area of effect, how that works.
No.
Right.
So I think
But they've made a really good attempt to lead you through what's quite a complex game, and I think that the real mistake they've made is the right at the beginning, because you just sat there looking at the screen and you have no idea what to do, right? And they've just forgotten that you don't know. That's all it is.
So I'm pretty sure the first time you did this, you only lost 2 ants.
Yes.
And this time you lost all 5.
Yeah.
I don't. Well, this is the thing. They're not all.
It's quite
grouped together.
It's quite difficult to control them. It looks like.
Yeah.
Like the little skittery movements, kind of nice looking, but that's the thing. Like, is that a deliberate design decision, or is that just frustrating controls?
Core dynamic.
Core dynamic. So they said their core dynamic was collection.
No.
And I can see why they've said that, but it's not.
No. Presumably you're trying to kill the spiders.
Well, here's the thing. So they talk about the collection dynamic because you're collecting apples, but that's not the fun bit of the game. That serves
also
what I think their actual core dynamic is, which they talk about as a secondary dynamic, which is territorial acquisition. You're building things, you're conquering bits of the map.
You've got everything has zones of control.
Yeah,
I would say that's
so. I think the problem is okay. So the real problem is that they don't have a core dynamic, right? Because you're right that the territorial acquisition is very powerful, but the aim of the game is not to acquire territory. The aim of the game is to kill the spiders. So they've set the game up as if the core dynamic was actually destruction. Right?
Do we definitely know that the goal is to kill all the spiders?
And the territorial acquisition and that's what they said in the expo.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the win condition, right? So, so in other words, the goal is destruction. The primary mechanic or the primary dynamic is actually territorial acquisition, and they think they're doing collection, right? And you need to make a decision about what that is. Right?
Yeah. I guess in most strategy games, well, not in most, but in a lot of in Age of Empires, for instance, the goal is usually to destroy all the enemies, and you do that through acquisition of territory.
The core dynamic is territorial acquisition. Yeah.
But I'm pretty confident it's not collection, because if nothing else, the collection is almost entirely automated.
Because destruction. It's not necessarily to do with the goal, but it's what is the fun bit of the game, and the fun bit of the game in Age of Empires isn't necessarily.
It is trying to do this. Yeah,
it's the fun bit is I've got just enough to afford a new anthill. I'll place that down and I'll expand my big green circles, kind of thing. So I
also think.
I think they've got. I think they've got all three of those things going on.
I don't think they've got collection going on. I don't think that.
I mean, the collection is just go collect those. Wait.
In collection is in Pokemon. It's about can I get all 150 of this thing? It's not collecting resources in an RTS.
Yeah.
So I can see why they've got confused, because collecting stuff is a big part of it. But
so if we take territorial acquisition as their kind of main, what we think their game's main dynamic is, core dynamic is. And then we say, well, let's have a look at whether they're successfully doing that. So
they've spoken about the way they emphasise the dynamic of territorial acquisition, at least, is through using spiders to guard certain areas of the map, which limits the expansion of the player, which motivates the player once again to fulfil the core dynamic.
That all works,
collecting food.
So good would be a clear core dynamic that suits the theme of the game and that is well supported by the primary mechanics and mostly appropriate audio-visual choices. And I would kind of say if it was territorial acquisition, that's what it is. All the mechanics support that. It's in that direction.
So especially the audio-visual choices, like big red things around enemy territory, big green things around your territory, warnings when your territory is about to be attacked.
So although I think they're quite confused, and there's a lot of dynamics going on in here as we kind of discussed, I would actually say that if you take territorial acquisition as their core dynamic, they've done a relatively good job of building a set of mechanics.
Yeah, I would say a brief note on the visual design again is that you get, when you click on your buildings, you get these zones of control, but they disappear, and there's no it means that if you want to say move around this, you have to go back and double check this. Where I think what would have been a nice extra touch, and it's not super important, but what would have been a nice extra touch is if you can have some way of changing the color of the background slightly to indicate
just to show
what the zones of control are.
But again, that you might, those are the kind of things you do with more time.
Yeah.
So you might have put another building in which allowed you to figure out where the zones of control of spiders were.
Or just have the ring, kind of like the borders in Civ or something like that. Yeah. You can see this is your territory.
It's not a big issue, but it would just make that slightly more convenient.
Okay. So I'm kind of thinking that they're around good for core dynamic despite the confusion. They might be a bit lower. Satisfactory would be a core dynamic that is a poor match for the theme of the game or is supported by only some of the mechanics and audio visual choices.
I think they're better.
I think that they're better than that. The problem is that they've not understood.
No, they really haven't. But so maybe between the two.
It's like with the game we played earlier, where they said it was race to the end. Although the dynamic they said it was is wrong, the dynamic it actually is they've done really well.
Yeah, and I think that's what we're assessing really.
So
what about feedback?
So in the lab sessions, one of the suggestions they got given was sort of a variety of resources. So they added the donuts in sort of riskier areas for greater reward. One criticism was that the spiders were a bit too passive, which meant the player was never forced to rethink their strategy or anything like that.
Yeah.
So they just planned all of the decisions at the start and then let things happen. That's why they added the widow spiders, which will occasionally attack the player, force them to respond, force them to reevaluate their strategy.
And that's worked well, and then they have to defend the nests. Yeah. Okay, so in terms of the feedback then, so good would be feedback was articulated and reasonable changes have been made, and excellent would be that the feedback was clearly articulated, interpreted, and reasonable changes have been made successfully. So
they do actually mention in the report they deliberately excluded the widow spider from the tutorial to add self-learning to the main game itself.
Yeah. But it did just really confuse us.
Yeah. Especially given that...
I think it would be okay to do that, but you have to put something in the game that demonstrates what they're doing. I still don't understand what they do.
They just...
I know that they attack you occasionally.
But do you start with them on the board?
This is what I've worked out, is that you
there.
start with them, and these nests, some of the nests specifically, will spawn more.
Right, okay.
And if you can, only the nests that start with those widow spiders occasionally create new ones. Yeah. So, you can, in theory, clear the board of them entirely and never have any more appear. But it's not explained, and there's no, visual indicator as to which ones produce them, other than...
For me, they've done a little bit of interpretation about what they were saying.
Oh, no.
So it's just whether or not that pushes them up to an excellent, or whether they're sort of halfway between the two.
I would say probably halfway between the two. So for, adding the different kinds of resources. So that's the thing. I'm pretty sure I suggested add the different resources and stuff like that. But they've interpreted it as, instead of adding wood for building or something like that, or something that would overcomplicate it, they've just added better food resources in riskier places. So I think
it's not really a different resource. It's just the same resource but bigger.
I mean, true, but...
Alright, I think that's our last game for this particular batch.
Yes, it is.
So we will see you again for another video.
Okay, bye-bye.
Yeah.